The other point is what was reported yesterday by Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is so much shocking. She said that they're considering the use of nukes against Iran. And what would be the target? Maybe they're thinking of hitting the Pickaxe Mountain. You know, that could be one of the targets that they may think of. What is the perception and repercussions of these sort of arguments in Iran, and how do they feel when they hear something like this?
Well, a number of things. One, it just shows how barbaric the United States is, and it shows how barbaric the West is, because no parliamentarian in the West, no government in the West, no parliament in the West, they, not a single one of them condemns the United States for even contemplating such a thing. Just as they don't condemn the Israeli regime for carrying out genocide. There's ongoing genocide. You don't see any European Parliament sanctioning the Israeli regime, the European government, because they're all either openly supportive of the extermination of Palestinian children, or they're quietly supporting it. They don't want to be seen as supporting it, but in reality they are. Every day the Israelis slaughter kids, and then they find a way to sanction Iran. It's obvious what they're trying to do. So when it comes to these issues, it's just a further indication of how depraved the Epstein class is and how barbaric they are. But we've discussed this before. I don't believe that they have damaged Iran's nuclear facilities at all. The Iranians, when they built those nuclear facilities, they took all these issues into consideration. And remember, the Americans failed to destroy a single missile or drone base in Iran, despite all the heavy bombing, despite the fact that they bombed them day and night. They'd fire missiles, then they'd carry out heavy strikes. Not a single base was destroyed. Not a single base was damaged. Only like the entrance of some of them, and they have many entrances, but like like one gate would be damaged, and then they would use bulldozers to open up the gate. Like in 24 hours or 36 hours, it would be back to normal, back to business. So if they cannot destroy underground missile bases, then obviously Iran's civil nuclear program, which has been threatened for so many years, it is even better protected than a missile base or a drone base, or the bases that hold many of Iran's key fighter jets or key anti-aircraft facilities or key factories or key R&D facilities for the military. So even if they were to use a nuclear weapon, I'm sure that it would have no impact. But it shows how barbaric they are, and it tells the Iranians you have to have a nuclear weapon then. Basically, that says you have to have a nuclear weapon, and the world would change. Everyone would want a nuclear weapon, because after that, no one is safe anymore. Everyone across the world will start seeking nuclear weapons. But Iran would have to do the same as well under such circumstances. We would be living in a completely different world. And of course, one of the most vulnerable places on the planet would be the Israeli regime. It's a tiny regime, and just one nuclear weapon used against it by any of these countries that would be seeking nuclear weapons would just end the regime altogether. So I find it hard to believe that they would be that stupid. The world has already turned against the United States, against Zionism. Their own people, Americans, Zionists are genocidal. But most Americans have turned against the regime. It would be catastrophic for themselves to take such an act, to make such a move, to carry out such an
act. Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't, he posted again the Strait of Hormuz, and it says the new territory of the United States.
He woke up. He did it now. Okay.
Just moments ago, let me just share, is the Strait of Hormuz the new U.S. territory? It means that
Well,
he's getting.
that just shows his stupidity, because he's telling the Iranians that I want to take away your land. I want to take away your territory. Basically, all Trump does is antagonize the US regime, whether it's South Korea, whether it's Oman, whether it's Saudi Arabia. I mean, remember when he said Mohammed bin Salman has to kiss me in the behind in front of a crowd that apparently was full of Saudis? That's who he is. So, by saying the Strait of, I mean, he's never going to be able to take the Strait of Hormuz, but this is just a reminder to Iranians that, look, you're dealing with this sort of person who wants to rape, murder, and plunder like the Zionists do. Just like in Venezuela, the oil is ours. So if he can do it, he would do it, because that's just who he is. And the Americans and the Europeans have gone back to the crude colonialism of past. And I say the Europeans because they cling to the United States, so they can't be seen as separate. So this is crude colonialism. This is like like when they would just take the land and slaughter the natives, or subdue, or dominate the natives. This is, if they could, they would. If he could, he would. But when it comes to Iran, Iran is not like other countries in the world. I think by now people know that. Iran is unique. There is nothing like it. It's Iran and the axis of resistance. They're unique. They're not afraid. They're not going to be intimidated. They're not going to be, they're not going to be outraged or emotional. They'll calculate. They'll make their moves very carefully. They're not afraid. They're not intimidated. And we've had this discussion many times before the 12-day war, during the 12-day war, during this war. No one that I knew ever thought for a moment that Iran was in danger. Just like now, no one that I know feels that Iran is in danger. True, war is tough. It's difficult. But Trump will fail. So what intimidates others, what forces others to bow to Trump, it has no effect in Tehran.
Jared Kushner was in the region talking with Palestinians, with Hamas. It was mentioned that he had a meeting with the Hamas leadership and talking with Israelis. And the next step of the so-called the Board of Peace document, 15-point document. And what is the point when it comes to Hamas? Israel is insisting on disarming Hamas. And they said that they're not gonna withdraw from Gaza, and let alone the West Bank. The West Bank, the case of the West Bank, somehow more complicated. What is the perception on the part of Iranians when it comes to the Board of Peace and the way that you see Erdogan is talking about it? Other countries are talking about it, but after all, it's all about disarming Hamas. Disarmament of Hamas, it means that the occupation would be legitimized in the next 5 years or 10 years, and they're little by little they're going to capture all of Gaza. And how do you understand the situation of the Board of Peace?
Well, one should ask those countries that are members of the Board of Peace, what have they done except for legitimize the murder of 1,400? I mean, not legitimize. This is not legitimate, but give an aura of legitimacy to Trump and to his fake peace plan, his fake ceasefire. They did nothing to stop the Israeli regime. They whitewashed Trump's crimes. These governments have to answer. Of course, they won't answer. They're not answerable to anyone. They also destroyed the momentum that was growing across the world, the anti-Israeli sentiments, which led to all those demonstrations hundreds of thousands of people in in Europe and Spain and Australia and elsewhere, and in Japan and Korea, across the world, people were outraged and continue to be outraged. But that momentum was broken thanks to that board of peace, thanks to those leaders who went to Egypt in order to whitewash Trump's crimes, in order to become signatories to a fake ceasefire, who put pressure on Hamas to accept a ceasefire that was fake. These countries are not friends of Palestine. They're not friends of the Palestinian people. They are obedient to Trump. And Trump has said that so many times. He said them, he spoke of the faithfulness of these people. He spoke of them being there when he needed them. So they have hurt the Palestinian cause. Of course, some of them, they give lip service to Palestine. They use it for their own political gains at home, and they pretend to be tough on Palestine, but they've done absolutely nothing. And of course, Netanyahu, on the other hand, says he does not accept the plan, Trump's plan. So while these countries, this collection of countries, these governments, they are now silent in the face of genocide, Netanyahu is saying, no, I don't accept. And then Kushner goes, and basically Kushner, being a Zionist and a deeply sinister person like his wife, who became a Zionist because of her love of Israel, says Trump in the Knesset before going to Egypt. You recall when he said that Miriam Adelson, she seemed to love Israel more than the United States, something like that.
Yeah.
So
he asked him which country is the first in her mind.
And she wouldn't answer. That's right. Yeah. So, and then he said that it seems that she's an Israeli first, which of course she is, no doubt. And so is her, her daughter, his daughter, chose Zionism because of Israel. So it's clear. And then now some of these governments are saying we're going to do something radical. Okay, do something radical. Stop the trade. Cut off diplomatic ties. Stop transporting energy. You haven't done anything for 3 years. It's all a show. Not a single country in the region cut off those that had diplomatic ties. Not one of them cut off diplomatic ties. Not a single one of them cut off their economic links. Not a single one.